Yo, guys, it's Kyle coming at you from Bane's Film Reviews. Today, I am sitting down with Aly Trasher, one of the stars of Eight Found Dead, which recently screened and won Screamfest out in LA. I'm excited to sit down and talk to her for a little while. How are we doing today?
We're okay. We're okay. We're being honest. We have COVID, but we're
Yeah,
here.
well, you're a trooper for hanging in there and sitting down with me anyway. Again, I appreciate it very much.
It's a positive thing. So you got this. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So I think the most important question is knowing that you won Best Film and Best Director at Screamfest. What's that journey been like?
Oh my gosh, it started several years ago
Mm,
with Travis Green. We
yep.
were actually on another project out in the desert, and one of the co-stars was there as well. And
Mm,
we were staying at an Airbnb. Conversations evolved. We started to talk about things. We are like, yeah, this place is kind of creepy. And honestly, the rest is history.
yeah. What's it like sitting? I don't know if you were able to make it out there and actually sit down with people and watch, or what's it like getting the type of reception that you're getting on a film like this?
I'm incredibly grateful. I
Yeah.
think so. I had seen a little bit of it back in July,
Mm,
and I think both Brian Valdez, who's the DP, the director is Travis Green, and then the writer is Jonathan Buchanan. They all have a style, and it just came together with a lot of humor too. That I I knew that the cast had comedy chops, but they
mm,
were really able to put that horror humor twist all together and create their own brand, which was
right.
really refreshing to see ultimately in the end. And the music, I think, really helped as well.
For
Just the
sure. Yeah, yeah,
environment. Tim and Rosie, they're amazing to work with. So
yeah.
it was a family ultimately. And then to see the family up on the big screen and get the reception of the audience that we did, it's just
Mm,
very rewarding. Lots of work,
very cool.
very rewarding, worth it.
Very cool. I'm
Yeah.
glad. I'm glad because I've heard people say that some projects don't work out the way they want them to, and they spend a lot of time working on something that just didn't feel right in the end. So I'm glad that it worked out for you guys. And again, it's well deserved for sure. It was my favorite film at Screenfest this year.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
of
I think it
course.
was a really there was something that I noticed too within I'm gonna put it out there. The cast. It was a whole variety of people and it was
Mm,
never about that. It was just
mm,
about we're all coming together out here in the desert and weird things are happening. And each of us had Travis was really able to hone in on this, and so was Jonathan. And Valdez was able to capture it, like just these individual tropes,
mm.
characters, which I think really all added up well together.
Yes, it did for sure. And then I want to take a step back because I'm always curious. How did you get into film in the first place?
Oh, I was a competitive figure skater when I was
Okay.
little. I did this competition where they let you do an interpretive skate. And
Okay.
then shout out to I was very shy, but I loved this interpretive skate. And shout out to my health teacher who noticed I was very shy in middle school. Miss Fahey, shout out. Ultimately talked to my mom and was like, hey, she should come in to do theater. And the first thing I ever did was called The Haunted House.
Okay.
So ironically, I've been in horror pretty much ever since in certain ways.
Yeah.
So
Very cool. Isn't that always how it works? It's either somebody that's extremely outgoing or you have someone incredibly introverted that they always end up being these fantastic actors. So
yeah, painfully shy. It helps you. Like I think kids need that outlet to know like it's okay to step out of
for
your
sure,
comfort zone.
for sure. Um, and then so you mentioned Roseanne and Tim, um, and they while it's very much an ensemble cast, they play a very separate role than everyone else. Where they're incredibly antagonistic, they're very creepy, and even when they're a little goofy and silly, like you mentioned, there's a little bit of comedy mixed in there. They're constantly creepy and they're constantly keeping people on the edge of their seats. What's it like working with someone like that?
I worked with Tim a bunch.
Okay.
And then, of course, we reunited here again. And working with Tim, gosh, they're just, and working with them as a couple, because they're a real life
Mhm.
couple as well.
Oh, okay.
They just have, and I'm like, cast them more people because they're good. They're really kind people, step one.
Hmm.
And then when they shift, it's very easy to tap in and lock in with them. Tim can scare me. Tim really scares me.
He is
Rosie too, but Tim,
yeah, he's so incredibly creepy throughout. He's so good at it. And but one of the creepiest scenes is when we first enter that Airbnb and she's standing in the doorway just giving
yes,
that look. That's just one of the that has to be the creepiest scene of the entire thing.
yes,
It's incredible.
yeah,
Um
because you think you actually can relate to coming in. Granted, I don't think most people would stay, but you can relate to coming into a place and being like, oh, this woman, that's what Rosie's really good at, being friendly, but
mm,
there's something a little off, and then and it just keeps spiraling. So
yeah. Is it ever difficult to separate the actor from the character when they're so different, but you're working with that character for so long?
no, I don't think it is. I really trust them,
Hmm.
and I really trusted the process. I think that it definitely is. It's kind of tricky to explain. It's hard to separate the environment, the actual environment,
Sure.
not the people, because
Yeah.
the environment truly was creepy.
Yeah. That makes sense. I've heard stories of people saying we were stuck in this cabin filming for 6 weeks and we hated each other as characters and we began to hate each other as actors,
Oh
which
no.
worked for the film very well, but outside of that doesn't,
Yeah,
that
no.
doesn't
No,
lend itself to, yeah.
nobody hated each other. We were a really good group, and that's really refreshing to have. I
Cool.
think, we all, a few of us, a handful of us come from theater backgrounds,
Okay.
and makes sense that not to give too much away. Um, but you had to live in all kinds of crazy places. So
Right.
to be
Yeah.
able to do what you love, just get along with people.
Right. For sure. Um, and to backtrack, they did eventually become friends. The individuals I'm talking about, they're okay now. But
Good.
he expressed that it was troublesome on set.
Ugh.
Um, but then so again, I mentioned the ensemble cast, and no one is ever really the lead. But I feel like you were tasked with what I consider the defining moment in the film, like the mishap with the name, and all of a sudden, that's when it starts to spiral.
Hmm.
Even with all these crazy things. But so knowing that you're being tasked with that part, I don't know if it was ever defined as being that particular type of moment, the defining moment, or if it was. But what's it like knowing that you had that moment on set?
Oh man, I'm honored that they believed in me to carry that moment.
Hmm.
Seriously. Like I I think that that moment is so pivotal in horror films to have that
Hmm.
person,
Yeah.
and to be able to be the one to be that person is it's very cool. And it felt very the writing and everything felt very empowering too.
Hmm.
Um so hopefully people will feel certain things throughout that moment.
Yeah, and I think they do. I think everything is developed very well. I think everything, all the intentions sort of seep through in the acting. So I think it works very, very well. Um, and then you kind of touched on it a little bit, but you mentioned about how the environment is difficult to get past. You kind of associate that environment with what you're filming. Does filming this film or any film of this genre ever take like a psychological toll or an emotional toll while you're doing this, or even right after you're done?
I definitely think if you're shooting overnight, there's no question that you're going to be exhausted. I don't want to say it's like psychological, but
Hmm.
it's a physical toll that you definitely step out of and are like, oh, I have to treat my body good. I have to make sure I'm eating the right things.
Hmm.
I was eating a lot of Smarties. Probably shouldn't have been doing that, but
Yeah.
you need sugar sometimes.
Yeah.
But more of a physical toll than anything. I'm grateful I didn't get sick.
Yeah, I'm sure. And then I think I defined the film. I don't know if this is really the appropriate way to define it, but I think I defined it in my review as saying you have the end, you already know what the end is, you obviously know what the beginning is, and it's sort of folding in on itself throughout.
Hmm.
So what's the filming process like? Because I imagine you couldn't possibly film in order because there isn't really an order to speak of. So what's that
You
like?
can't you can't film in order, but because you have the four couples, you have the cops, which are going to be
Hmm.
filmed separately. Tim and Rosie, those setups, oftentimes, you're in the same place. So we would
Hmm.
be doing the scene with Alicia, who's Sam,
Yeah.
and Gabe, who's Dwayne. They would do theirs during the day. The setup would stay, and we would do ours at night.
Okay.
So
Did you find, was it a little more trying than other films because of the way it's set up, or did it all seem pretty normal?
I just wish we had more time, but it came out because of the angst oftentimes behind the like, okay, we got to switch, we're going to go, okay, run these lines, here we go. It
Hmm.
helped the energy.
Yeah.
Looking back, definitely at the moment I was like, ah, but I felt like I was able to really get into character because of that push
Hmm.
that sometimes had to happen.
Cool. And then obviously, I guess the huge reward is winning Screamfest. But what other than that is the most gratifying part of this?
Working with friends, like friends who you really believe in. And I
Mm,
believe in so many of these people, all of them honestly deserve to work consistently, and they have the discipline and the drive to really
mm,
follow their dream. And I'm so happy, like, so happy for Travis. I'm so happy for Jonathan. I'm so happy for Ryan. I'm happy for Eddie and Gabe and everybody. Like, it's just, you can feel it and you can taste it, and it's like a nice warm hug when you get that validation. Now, we don't need that validation. We never went in there thinking, actually, even hearing Travis tell me the story of how it happened, he's like, what? um but to have it just feels like a nice hug.
yeah, I'm sure. And so this is partially for me, and this is partially for whoever ends up watching this. Um, I would like to get a copy of this on DVD first. Do you know if it's ever going to end up on DVD or Blu-ray?
Perhaps. There's
Okay.
more to come. There is more to come.
Okay. Very
There's
good.
some good things happening for Found It.
Cool. Very good.
Yeah.
And then where is there anywhere that anyone can watch currently?
Not yet.
Okay.
No.
All
Stand
right.
by.
What's that?
I said stand by.
Okay.
Wait.
We'll we'll do. Um, and then so what are you working on now? Obviously not right now, but what's in the works?
I'm actually in a show called The Willows, which is how I know Tim. We're
Okay.
both in this immersive theater show that is, it's so cool. It's horror as well. Out of this
Okay.
house. It's going to be wrapping up next week. Um, I just got a new manager. I got a new agent. I'm excited about that, and we'll
Cool.
see where that takes me. I have some potential things in the works, so
Very
I'm
cool.
excited. Yeah,
Well, best of luck with all of those things.
thank you.
And then I ask everybody the same question because I'm curious what response I get. Just curious what some of your favorite films are.
Oh God, I love it. All the its.
We literally just watched chapter 2 last night, my wife and I.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Like just the psychology too of being an adult and being a kid and those things that you fear. It's so, to me, the psychology of it I love.
Yeah.
Um I love Silence of the Lambs. I always have. I loved it when I was a kid. Um
Okay.
I think when there's always a psychological element to it, that's where
Sure.
it really hits me.
Yeah, yeah. So you were just horror through and through.
Yeah, I mean, I have other things like I grew my teenage years were Moulin Rouge. Like I have
Yeah.
those little
Okay.
things. Dances with Wolves, epic. Um,
Okay.
but yeah.
Um, so usually when I ask, I end up with movies that I haven't seen before, which is a little embarrassing because they're always really popular movies, and I just haven't had a chance to watch them yet. So thank you for naming movies that I've seen.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys watched it the other night. Good choice.
Yeah, well, my wife loves Halloween movies, and I'm not really big into like the Disney Halloween movies like she is.
Mhm.
So we compromised, and she's well, we'll just watch it one and two. So we watched
Perfect.
one 2 days ago, and then two last night. Um,
Nice.
but I won't keep you too long. I thank you so much again for spending time with me, even with what you're dealing with. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, Congratulations to you and everyone else on your win at Screamfest. It was well deserved. And best of luck to you and everything that's coming up.
Thank you so much.
Of course. You have a great day.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.